Hello everyone, thanks for sending in your questions via Instagram for me to answer. Here I am in the Coin Bureau HQ surrounded by, basically these are my little children. I've got all my favourite little cryptos just on little cushions here. So Johnny is behind the camera, he's going to ask your questions. Johnny, fire away.
Okay, thoughts on QNT?
QNT is a really interesting interoperability play, and I think the overledger system that they've developed is a really good way of kind of tackling this blockchain interoperability question, and I think that's more relevant than ever given that we had the wormhole bridge hack a couple of weeks ago. What's interesting about a couple of things to note about QNT. Firstly, the CEO, Gilbert Verdian, possibly has the most impressive CV I've ever seen of anyone.
What does it look like?
He has literally worked for so many good companies. He's worked for I think he's worked for the Federal Reserve. He's worked for the Bank of England. He's worked for HSBC. It's just an incredible CV. But Quant Network is. Although it's a really important interoperability play, the important thing to remember about it is that it's much more sort of corporate oriented, and their technology isn't open source, and you have to pay for it. But that said, it is a really interesting project, and is obviously tackling a very important area of crypto.
Next question: which is better, the Ledger Nano X or the Trezor Model T?
They're both good wallets. Off the top of my head, I think at the moment only Ledger wallets support the Phantom wallet extension, which may be an issue for some people. They are both super secure. The only issue I have with Ledger is the data breach that they suffered a couple of years ago. I still think that's a really bad look for a company that is in the security industry, if you like. But that said, they are both great wallets.
Next question: where do you get the ideas for so many disclaimer characters?
That's a good question. Where do we get the ideas for so many disclaimer characters?
Me.
Macy says it's Macy. I can tell you something. It's not Macy.
So it
They just come to it. They just come to us. They just fall out of the air. Sometimes I just think of people that I'd like to impersonate, but it's Macy most of the time.
Okay.
Next question, Johnny.
Next question: what do you think about getting salary in crypto?
Ooh. Yeah, I mean, it's a great idea, and the more people that get paid in crypto, the better. That said, there is still the issue of, there's the issue of volatility, and there's also the issue of spending your salary in the big wide world. I know, I think Binance still pays all its employees in BNB, which I don't think they probably complain about, given that BNB's been done pretty well over the last couple of years, along with a lot of other cryptos. I guess the issue is being able to exchange it for, in order to pay your bills and your rent and all that sort of stuff. But look, the more people who do it, the better.
Do you think the early release of SundaeSwap has hindered its success?
Well, it's tough to tell because Cardano needs dApps, so it needs testing. We need people using the network. And as far as I can gather, the SundaeSwap release hasn't gone 100% according to plan. I think there have been delays, and some users have been saying that their swaps have taken a long time or just haven't gone through. And that is a problem. But at the same time, I feel that although Cardano is focused on peer review and slow and careful research, it needs to be battle tested. So you need a dApp out there, and basically you need to see what goes wrong, because I think that's the only way that you're going to really properly test the network. And it should be pointed out that although I gather that the Cardano blockchain is running pretty much close to capacity, the scaling solutions for Cardano are still not live. So there are those to consider as well. But I think it's an important testing ground for what Cardano
bit of stress
is.
testing.
Yeah, stress in every word by the sound.
Yeah. Okay, here's a good one. Will USDC overtake USDT?
Yes. Eventually. I'm kind of surprised. If you'd asked me that question a year ago, I'd have probably said that by now it would have happened. But no, it's going to happen at some point, I think, because I think Tether is just still so opaque about its reserves and what's backing USDT. So what is worth pointing out is that USDC is obviously backed by the Circle Corporation, and that is a big entity. There are some really big names associated with that, and I think that is going to be a major player in crypto and banking in general in the future. So yeah, I'm pretty certain that USDC will overtake USDT in the fullness of time, but USDT, to give it its due, does seem to be clinging on pretty well.
And here's an important one. Thoughts on the CumRocket token?
Well, do you know what? This is interesting because at the moment I'm researching a podcast episode all about the first altcoins, because a lot of people kind of assume that we had Bitcoin and then we had Ethereum, and that's the way it's always been. But actually, there were a number of altcoins before Ethereum came along. You had Litecoin, you had Namecoin, but as I remember, one of those earlier altcoins was something called Titcoin, which was a coin basically aimed at the adult entertainment industry. So it's not, it seems to be, CumRocket seems to be following a fairly well-worn path. And I think it's interesting because the sex industry, if you like, that sector is under a lot of pressure because it's very, very difficult for sex workers to access things like regular banking, to get credit and things like that. So crypto is a natural fit for that line of business. And it's really important that people in that line of work are able to benefit from it. I guess my question would be, do you need a specialist token in order to serve that industry? I mean, I would think that, the coins and tokens that we have at the moment, for instance, Bitcoin, could probably do that just as well. So, although, and I mean, I think from what I remember, CumRocket is, it's not just a shit coin or a meme coin or anything like that.
Really?
Yeah, they are trying. There is development going on in the project. It's been a while since I last looked at it, so don't quote me on that. But yeah, it's definitely a going concern. But I just wonder whether we actually need a dedicated sex industry token, because we certainly didn't need a dedicated token for dentists like we had with Dentacoin all that time ago. So yeah, definitely an interesting project though. I must have a proper look at that.
Do you know, I'll put my hands up and I'll say I completely thought CumRocket was just like a joke meme coin. Genuinely, yeah.
I don't think so, but yeah.
Okay, next question. Do you believe in crypto gaming tokens?
Yes, I mean, this is something that we're going to see a whole lot more of in the future for sure, because the gaming industry is just so huge and getting bigger all the time. So I think the potential of them is amazing. And I guess, gaming token, that's a fairly wide bracket in terms of the tokens that are there. So yeah, I mean, I think they're definitely the future. And I guess what will be interesting to see will be just how joined up the gaming industry becomes. Like, will you be able to spend tokens from Axie Infinity, say, in another game? Because I think the last thing we want is the sort of walled garden structure that we see with the regular gaming industry.
Okay, last question. Which coin do you hold most?
Ethereum, ETH.
Ethereum.
Yeah. ETH has the largest individual allocation in my portfolio, closely followed by Bitcoin. But yeah, ETH is definitely my largest single holding for reasons that I won't go into here because I've talked about it so many times, but yeah, for good reason.
Okay, that was all the questions we had for today.
That's all our questions. Thanks so much for sending them in, guys. Please keep them coming. I really enjoy answering all your questions, and the sillier the better. But I'm going to go and look at CumRocket now.